Hi, today I'm reviewing the Isle of Paradise Self-Tanning Drops. And really quick, I just want to say I purchased all these products with my own money, so you know you can trust my opinion is what I honestly believe. So, Isle of Paradise has recently come to Sephora, and they've got 3 different products. They've got a self-tanning water, self-tanning drops, and then a self-tanning gel. And I picked up the self-tanning drops. They have 3 different shades, light, medium, and dark. And at first I picked up the light color and got that. And they say you can mix between 1 and 12 drops. And after mixing 12 of the light drops, it didn't do much. So I stepped it up a level to the medium. So I'm giving you guys my review on the medium drops. But if you have fair skin, you'll probably want to start with a light drop. And if you're not necessarily a self-tanning expert, this might be a little tricky to kind of start with because the directions are kind of vague and how much you need to use. It's going to be a lot of kind of customization, but if you're well versed in self-tanning and have done it a lot, you'll probably have a little bit better luck. So if you're new to it, I'd recommend starting out with just like maybe the Saint Tropez gel or mousse. It's a little bit easier when you just have one product that you don't need to necessarily mix and customize. So I am going to let you guys know my thoughts on it, starting with the Sarah score criteria number 1, which is packaging.
Who's in the box? What's in the box?
And they've done a very good job with the packaging. For the most part, my 2 things I want to say is it's a little strange it doesn't come, for me it didn't, neither bottle came like wrapped with a seal or anything, which was strange. And then both of them were so hard to open. Even my husband had a little bit of a difficult time opening it. And then you've got the dropper at the top, so you don't want to smush that. So a little weird that neither of them came sealed. But after the second one came not sealed, I wasn't as concerned with the first one and the fact that they're both full. It wasn't as big of an issue, and the fact that I got them online, so they came directly from the warehouse. But if you saw these sitting on a shelf not sealed, I might be a little more concerned. But overall, otherwise, the packaging is good. They've done a good job with the dropper bottle, which is the best way to do it when you're kind of customizing it with a number of drops. Anyway, and then don't be alarmed if it's very hard to open. So you might have to get a friend or someone to help you with that. So especially if you have kind of wet hands, that makes it even more tricky. Anyway, my second criteria is alcohol. And on the list, denatured alcohol is the 3rd ingredient on this list. It's not as big of a concern as it normally would be because you're going to be mixing it with another moisturizer. That's my other thing, is don't take the drops and apply it directly to your face. You're not going to like that outcome at all, I have a feeling. So it's not as big of a concern as it normally would be, considering the fact that you're mixing it, and definitely mix it with a good solid moisturizer, one that doesn't have a ton of fragrance. That's kind of my recommendations. My 3rd criteria is fragrance, and unfortunately there's lots of...
Smells like victory.
Of it. It's got grapefruit in there, peppermint, eucalyptus, sage, and then fragrance in and of itself, which could be one or more of 140 different ingredients. So it is highly fragranced. So if you have very sensitive skin, you might want to avoid this. But again, it's not as big of a concern as it normally would be because you are going to mix it with something else. The bigger issue is what you're mixing it with. So mix it with a good, solid, fragrance-free, alcohol-free moisturizer. That's my recommendation. So my 4th criteria is manufacturing location, and this is made in the UK.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Oh! So there's no issues there. My 5th criteria is ease of use.
That was easy.
And it's pretty easy to use. You just mix drops with moisturizer. And the one thing that they're not very specific is the number of drops. On the bottle, it says add 1 to 12 drops. Well, there's a huge difference between 1 drop of something and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, that's a huge difference. A huge difference in product. So that's why I say if you haven't done a lot of self-tanning before, you're probably going to want to pick up something that's just a formulated product that you don't need to mix or customize too much. And the other thing I recommend is probably starting out on the lower end of the spectrum, maybe with 1 or 2 drops. See how that works and then work your way up. But this also says face and body, but you know, if it takes 12 drops to do your face, this bottle is going to go very fast if you have to do it on your body. So those are kind of my warnings there with that. But otherwise, you just mix it with a moisturizer. I've been mixing it with the Protini, the Drunk Elephant Protini moisturizer, and I've had good results with that. You want to use kind of a more gel moisturizer than a cream thick moisturizer because you're going to have to mix it in. And if it's too thick or too firm of a moisturizer, it's going to be harder to mix, and you're going to probably end up with more splotchy results. So pick a good liquidy gel moisturizer. Or another thing I mixed it with is the Clinique Supercharged Moisture Concentrate. That one's a good gel consistency that's easy to mix. So, but otherwise, it's very easy to use. But so for me today, you can probably tell I look a little more bronzed. I used 4 drops mixed with the Protini for the last 3 nights. So a little bit will go a long way unless you find yourself having to use 12 drops. That was kind of the experience I had with the very light version. So if you're having to use a ton of drops, maybe bump up to the next shade. I think this is medium, and then dark would be the next shade. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. My 6th criteria is antioxidants, and it has a few.
It's good for you.
It's got some vitamin E in there, coconut alkanes, and then aloe. So it's more got some, not a ton of antioxidants. And again, the more important thing is what you're mixing it with. I would have preferred had they, instead of putting a lot of that fragrance in, maybe thrown in some more antioxidants, perhaps some, I don't know, vitamin C or something, but they didn't go that direction with it. So, but you're not typically buying it for the skincare factor in it. So my number 7 criteria is animal testing, and this is cruelty-free, thankfully, from everything I've read, and it's got a cruelty-free symbol on the bottle, so that's a good thing. My number 8 criteria is performance.
You perform here, doors open for you anyway.
And it performs quite well. Like I said, you kind of have to customize it. It's a little bit of trial and error. Perhaps try it on a Friday night if you don't have to work on the weekends, just in case. But definitely mix it with a more liquidy or gel moisturizer. And the other interesting thing is if you'll look at their products online, each bottle has a different color, and they say that their products are all shaded so they kind of color correct, but there's no way that this little shade of mint green is going to do much to help with redness, especially when you're mixing it in. So that's kind of perhaps just a marketing line, because you're not going to get next to any real color correcting with this. So my number 9 criteria is price.
The price? Your soul.
And one of these little bottles is $29. It's 1 ounce, but if you think about it, you're mixing a couple drops here and there, so a little bit goes a long way, so it's not overly expensive, unless you're planning on using it all over your body, which then it's going to get expensive quite fast. So I'd recommend going with something else other than this for your body, but face, neck, and décolleté is probably the way to go. And then my number 10 criteria is the it factor, and for me, it just didn't have anything overly exciting.
Really? What's it like?
Other than the fact that it is cruelty-free and vegan, which is always a good thing, and organic, but it's not anything revolutionary. There's other products that do the same thing. James Reed Tan has one of these. They're kind of becoming more common, so there's nothing revolutionary about it, but it's just another nice option to have in terms of self-tanning. Anyway, so overall this got a 7 out of 10, which is pretty good. So I'm interested if you guys have had a chance to check this out yet, or any of the other Isle of Paradise products. And what did you check out? What shade and how did you like it? So I love hearing from you guys. And also, if you guys have any tips about a good tan applicator, I've tried those little mitts, and those seem to soak up so much of the product, and they end up getting messy. So I've just been using my hands, but I don't really like having very orange fingers. So I'm able to get a lot of that color off, and obviously I apply moisturizer to my hands before I apply any of it, but still some of it gets stuck on there. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was the longevity of this, because I use an AHA every day. So after I use this with a moisturizer, I've been getting about 2 to 3 days out of it. So, but I've kind of been consistently mixing it in. So there's not a ton of longevity with it. Perhaps their tanning water has a little better results with that. But the fact that I use an exfoliant, a chemical exfoliant every day doesn't help the longevity of any tan products. So it's kind of a bummer, but in the long run, it's better for my skincare. So anyway, leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. Feel free to subscribe if you're not already. I come with at least 1 new review every day. And as always, check out nobsbeauty.net and the Amazon link below. Thank you so much, guys.